Hey, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make the Granny Style cardigan that's part of the summertime Granny Style crochet along. In this tutorial I'll be showing you how to make the traditional granny square as well as seaming it together. This tutorial shows you the hip length cardigan with the simple edging, but if you purchase the PDF, you're going to have some extra options in there to make it crop, to make it tunic, and also a different edging option. So you will find all those details in the description box below, links to the blog as well as the ebook and the individual PDF. The yarn that I'm using for this pattern is Comfy Sport Weight, and this yarn was provided to me by We Crochet. This is a beautiful soft yarn. It is made with 75% Pima cotton and 25% acrylic. It is a weight number 2. It's a little on the heavy side of most weight number 2s, so you will find it is similar to some DK weight yarns. I have a substitution list on the blog if you want to check that out, and the link is in the description box. I will be using 5 colors for this tutorial. So I'm using Flamingo, Parchment Silver Sage, Seafoam plus Ivory, and you can find all of your yarn requirements on the blog and in the description box below. I'll be using a 4.5mm crochet hook for this tutorial. I have shown making the squares with my furls hook, but I'm also promoting the Dots hook set with the crochet along if you're taking part, and it will have all the sizes in the set that you need for this crochet along. If you're watching this video after the event and the crochet along is no longer active, you can still purchase the ebook with the patterns that we're making in the crochet along. You can still join in our Facebook community group to share your projects and ask your questions. So feel free to join our Facebook community through the link below. This tutorial I will move through fairly quickly, so if you need to review your beginner double crochet stitch, you can watch the video linked below, or you can also slow down the tutorial by clicking on your settings and adjusting to a slower speed, which is the gear icon that you're going to find below this video. So for our medium large cardigan that is hip length, you will need to make 92 granny squares, which I will show you in the next clips how to make those squares. But if you head to the blog, you can get the number of squares you need for the different sizes. So I have already made a bunch, and I'm using all of my colors. All of them are bordered with the ivory, and I've just alternated the other 4 colors. So in total, I have 12 different color patterns. So for each color pattern, you will need to make 3 for this size. So here's 2, and I'm going to show you how to make the 3rd. You can head to the blog to see all of the color combinations you need to make, and that will ensure that you use about the same amount of each color when working up this pattern. So this combination is beginning with our Silver Sage. So let's begin with a magic ring. Wrap the yarn around your index finger 3 times, sliding your hook through, pulling the first, and we'll chain 3. Then we'll work 2 double crochets in the ring. Our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. So there's our first cluster. Chain 1, work 3 double crochets. Chain 1, work 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 1 more cluster of 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 clusters of 3s. And now we'll pull our ring tight. So take your tail, one of your loops is going to pull in and the other loop stays bunched out. So take the loop that's pulled, give it a tug, it's going to pull that other loop in, and then take your tail. Now we'll slip stitch in the top of the first double to join, and we're going to fasten off. And we won't leave the tails too long as we cut them. Now, the third square, we can reverse the pink end, the parchment, if we want, but I'm just going to continue. I'll work them just up identical to these. So next I'm using Flamingo. Okay, and I've joined into the chain 1 space. So here's the chain 3, 2 doubles, and I'm joining into that first chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3 for our first double. We'll then work 2 double crochets, chain 1, and in the same space 3 double crochets. We're making this into a square now. Okay, so this makes our first corner. We'll chain 1, work 3 doubles, chain 1 and 3 doubles, the next corner is made, chain 1 in our next chain 1 space, 3 doubles, chain 1, 3 doubles, chain 1, and our last chain 1 space, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3. We'll chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch into the first double to join, and then we can fasten off. Tail's just long enough for weaving. Now we'll come across and we're going to join into the next chain 1 space. So into the chain 1 space. And again, we're just leaving the tails long enough that we can weave them. We'll chain 3, work 2 doubles, chain 1 and 3 doubles for our corner, chain 1, and in the chain 1 space we'll work 3 doubles, chain 1, in the chain 1 space we'll do another corner. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and we're going to repeat this around. So we'll do 3 doubles, and then we do a corner, 3 doubles, a corner, 3 doubles. So I'm going to work that around and then I'll meet you up. Okay, so now we'll slip stitch. I've chained 1, we'll slip stitch in the first double to join, and we'll fasten off. As you can see, we do have lots of tails to weave with this pattern, and you can really do what you prefer, weave them as you go or wait till the end. I have left most of mine to sit and do at the end, but it can be overwhelming to do all those ends at once, so weave them as you go if you prefer that. So now again, here's our join. We're going to go over to that first chain one space. We're going to join in with our final color, and your square should end up at 4 inches for your sizing to be correct. So chain 3, we'll work our corner. So 2 doubles, chain 1, and then 3 doubles, chain 1, and now this time we have 2 places to put our 3 doubles before our next corner. And you could continue making this granny square bigger if you wanted. But for this pattern, this 4-inch size works out well. Chain 1. And then we're going to work another corner. So this is just very repetitive. We'll do 3 doubles, chain 1, and 3 doubles. They actually work up very quickly. It's those weaving the tails that take the time. So I'm going to continue working around. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. I've chained 1, and I just like to slip stitch into the top of the first double rather than the chain 3, but you could slip stitch in the top of the chain 3 as well. Fasten off, and then we can weave in all those tails. So again, go to the blog so you can see all the different color patterns. There are 12 in total. Depending on the size you're making, follow along with how many squares you need to make. I'm going to show you how to make the square by eliminating all of those tails to weave. The only tails you'll need to weave will be your starting and ending tail, instead of all of the tails that are required with all of these color changes. So this will require the thumb join, joining the yarn to do this. So there will be some little knots throughout, but if you really hate weaving in all those tails but still want a colorful granny square, you might like this option. So I'm using my 4.5mm crochet hook, and let's make a magic ring. Take the hook, sliding it through all 3 loops, pull the first loop through, and we'll chain 3, and this counts as our first double crochet. Now we'll work 2 doubles, so we have our first cluster. Now we'll chain 1, work 3 double crochets. For our next cluster, chain 1, 3 doubles, for our third cluster, chain 1 and 3 doubles for the final cluster. Chain 1. Now I'm going to pull the ring tight. So I've just moved my work out of the way to see those loops. Start pulling, only 1 loop's pulling in. Take the loop that's pulled, give it a tug. It's going to pull that other loop. Take your tail. Now what we need to do is figure out where we need to snip the yarn. So I'm going to slip stitch into the chain, the starting chain, and then into the next double crochet, the next double crochet, and the chain 1 space. So this is getting me in position, okay, for the next round. We're then going to trim because we know this is how much we need of this color, okay? So take that off. We're just gonna pull this back a little bit so we have that tail, okay, so that we can do our thumb join. Okay, so I don't want to pull that stitch out, so you're going to have to just work with that little bit. Okay, my next color I'm going to work with is the pink. So I'm going to take this yarn in my thumb and index finger. I'm going to bring in the new color, just putting that tail right beside. Okay, so I'm pinching the tails between my thumb and index finger. I'm going to take the yarn I'm bringing in, I'm going to wrap it around my thumb and the yarn 2 times. The 3rd time I'm going to wrap between the tails and my thumb. Then I'm going to take the tails, I'm going to tuck them down, I'm going to pinch with my thumb and pull to make a nice tight knot. Now I can join back on and finish off my round. So I chain 1, slip stitch into the chain, slip stitch in the next double, the next double, the chain 1 space. That knot can sometimes be a little bit of a nuisance, but we're going to get in here and chain 3. Okay, and then we're going to continue with our second round. So for this round, we will work 2 doubles, chain 1, and then 3 doubles all in the same space. Okay, so that's going to make our first corner. We'll chain 1. In the next chain 1 space, we'll work 3 doubles. Chain 1 and 3 doubles. Chain 1. And we're going to do the same thing in the next chain 1 space and the next chain 1 space. Okay, and we'll chain 1, and we again are going to do our slip stitch in the chain. We're going to slip stitch across. Okay, to the chain 1 space, because this is where we're going to start the next round. Again, we can just flip and we can cut our yarn. We really need to make sure these knots are nice and tight and secure, but if this for any reason makes you really nervous, just work your regular method and weave in those tails, okay? So this is just a trick if you really, really hate weaving in tails and you want a faster way to make a granny square. So what we're going to do now is bring in our blue. Okay, so again, I'm bringing it in beside the new color, getting my tails, 1, 2, and then we're going the thumb and the tails. We're going to take these little tails, we're going to tuck them, and I just pinch and pull. Okay, and now we're going to finish up again. Chain 1, sometimes you may have to readjust, get the right tension to get this pulled through. That knot is making a little tight. And then we will chain 3 and work our 2 double crochets for our corner. Okay, so we are going to have these little knots. Sometimes you can squish them around and make them not as noticeable. Push them to the back or whatever. Chain 1 and we'll do 3. Chain 1. So now we have our corner. Now this will be just our 3 doubles, chain 1, and then we're to another corner again. So we work our 3 doubles, chain 1, and 3 doubles, chain 1, then we're in between here, we just do our 3 doubles and work this all the way around. Okay, so I've chained 1, I'm going to slip stitch in my chain, starting chain, and slip stitch across the first double, the next double, and into the chain 1 space to set me up for the final round. Again, I'm going to give it a trim. And finally, we're going to be joining in with our cream. Thumb join may take a little practice, but once you get the hang of it, it comes in very useful for many projects. But again, if you're struggling, just do it the normal way and weave those tails. So I'm going to just take my tails, I'm going to tuck them. Chain 1. One, 2, 3. Okay, and now I'm going to finish this final round. So my corner will have 2 doubles, chain 1, and then work 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Now we'll have 3 doubles, and then we're to another corner again. So just work this all the way around. So for the medium large size that I'm working on, I need a total of 92 squares. And in the pattern, you'll also have the diagrams for how your squares will be put together to form your cardigan. So this is my diagram of the medium large size and how we're going to seam it together. I'm going to start by seaming my pieces vertically first, and I have numbered the order in which I'm going to do that. So I'm taking the longest sections and getting them done. So we have a nice consistent join as we go. So we're taking all of these squares and we're joining them. And it doesn't matter which size that you're working on, you can do this in a similar way. So then I'm going to start joining in my smaller sections once I've completed the big ones. So from here, we're going to join the smaller section and go across, and then we can join up our longer section to that that's already joined here. And then you can continue adding all of your sections. And then once that is complete, you're then going to start seaming them together horizontally. And I'm beginning here. Again, you could start really wherever you want, but I've just given an option of how you can put this together. The idea is you could even go this way instead. It's just grabbing those longer sections. I just think it's good, and just to follow a pattern for when you're seaming, it will help the process. So I'm going to pop up a video now that's just going to show you the seaming technique that you will need to do for this pattern. So I'm going to be doing the flat slip stitch join to join my squares together. Now, because it may be difficult to see, I'm going to use a different color just to demonstrate this for you. So let's take 2 of our squares and the right sides are facing up. We're going to be joining down into this chain 1 down here in the corner. So make sure to identify that. I'm going to make a slip knot and put it on my hook. Now what you're going to do is find that chain 1 stitch, and you can see the 2 loops here. We're going to go to that outer loop, which will be the inside of the seam. So let's go through there. We're going to come over to our other square, finding that chain 1 corner as well, and we're also going to the outside, which will be the inside of our stitch here. So we now have these 3 loops on the hook. You want to have your yarn going underneath up in the center here. You'll now yarn over, and you're going to pull through all the loops on your hook. Now what you're going to continue to do is go through each stitch, and we want the stitch that's to the inside. We're going front to back, then we're coming over to this side and we're going front to back, pulling through. Again. Yarning over and pulling through. Now you can do this, really seam them together in your preferred method, that's fine. Whoops. Okay, so you're going to continue all the way across, and this is how we're going to seam all of our squares together. Okay, so once you get all the way up, to continue joining more of the squares, we're just going to continue as we have been. We're going to find our chain 1 space. We're going to go we're going to do the same thing here. Now we just want to make sure again that our yarn is to the back. Okay, and then we're going to pull through. And continue working just as we have. Whoops. Okay, so then we'll continue now, joining all the way up, and then we can come over and I'll show you how to join your square this way. So you're going to want to follow along with your pattern for how many squares you're joining. And I will complete joining all mine together off camera, but I'm going to show you how we work coming across this way as well. Okay, so I've joined on down here the same as I showed you before. I've come all the way up. Now I'm coming to the center. So now as I worked, I kept my working yarn underneath this section here. So I'm coming up to where I need to come across, and you can see this elongated stitch right here. We're going to work through the stitch. We're going to come over to this side, and you can see the elongated stitch here. Because this could do a little bit of gapping, we can go through the front loop instead. Let me just get that through. Okay. Yarn over and pull that through. Okay, and then our next stitch, yarning over and pulling through. You can see it nicely goes across. Now I just joined on another color because I didn't want to cut any of this yarn. I just want to show you how it's going to look because I'm doing mine in the ivory, so it's going to look like this. But just so it's easier for you to see how I'm working, I did it in the different colors. So then you just continue going, adding as many squares as you need. Okay, so I have seamed together all of my cardigan, and what I did before starting to seam is I laid it all out on the floor so I could arrange my squares and mix them up as I wanted. So I made sure that I laid out the entire piece, and then I started doing the seaming first vertically and then horizontally. I've woven in all of the tails. So now we just need to put the cardigan together. Okay, so you want to lay it so that you see how it goes together. So I have my front panel here. I'm going to line it up with my back and then my sleeve over here to the side. So what we're going to do is we're also going to use that flat slip stitch seam to seam the sleeves and the side together. So we're going to be working up the sleeve and then we're just going to continue going down the side, or you could start at the side and work your way, whichever. But basically you want that the right side of your cardigan is going to be facing upwards, just like if we were doing it flat. Okay, so I've put a slip knot on the hook. We're going to find the chain ones at the corner to get us started here. I always find getting the first one going is always the toughest. Okay. And then just continue going up the side, just like we've been doing, but we're now, like I say, seaming the sleeves together and the sides together. Okay, so I'm going to complete this sleeve. I'm going to work all the way down the side, finishing up over at this side of the cardigan, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so I completed my seaming. So let's just take a look. So here's going up the sleeve and down the side. So I completed that on both sides of the cardigan. And now what I'm gonna do is edge the side as well, going up along the neckline, and that'll just help if there's any pulling as well to pull that in. And you could add some ribbing to the side of this if you wanted, really any type of edging that you would like. You could also even add some edging to the bottom and add some length. So I'm going to add a slip knot to my hook. And I'm going to join into that back loop of the chain 1, working a slip stitch, and I'm going to work a slip stitch through the back loops. Back loop of the chain. Okay, so I'm coming to the join. I'm just going to continue just trying to make a smooth transition across. So I'm going to continue working this all the way around. You can also add it to the bottom if you'd like to finish off that edge. And then I'm going to leave the sleeves as they are. You could slip stitch around the edges if you want, but I think they look fine the way they are. So I'm going to leave my sleeves untouched. If for any reason you wanted to make some modifications, and let's say you would prefer more a pulled-in cuff for your cardigan, you could leave off, only do the 3 sections of squares instead of 4, and get your extra length by adding a cuff here instead of the granny squares, and that could give you a different look as well, where this is going to give you more that open, almost giving you a flared look at your wrist. Okay, so I finished slip stitching across the edging. I'm going to leave the bottom without anything for now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work back in single crochets. I'm going to switch over to my smaller hook just to make sure that my stitching isn't too loose. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. I'm going to work a single crochet through just that loop. So if we're looking at it here, it's basically the loop that you're going to be able to easily work into. The back loop here. So I'm going to work back around in single crochet, and then I'm going to work back again so that I'm ending on my right side. And you can continue going back and forth, making really this edge as wide as you want. I am running out of my cream, so I am just going to go with working back and then working back again to finish it off. I do have more yarn coming, so if I decide I want to do that to the bottom as well, I can, but I think it looks kind of nice with this sort of, almost gives it a little wave or a little scalloped kind of look at the bottom, so it looks perfectly fine to leave it like that. But if you want to add length, you want to add some edging, you can just go ahead and do that basically the same way that I've shown you here. You can just do that along the bottom. You could even add a join as you go ribbed band if you prefer that look. So I'm just going to continue now with my edging, working it in single crochet, and then once I've completed that, I'll meet you back up again to show you how it looks. Okay, so I completed my simple edging, and then just to kind of have a nice smooth transition, I did slip stitch just across the bottom just to kind of give it that nice finished look across the little bit of edging that I did. So if you check out your PDF, it's also going to include the option to do the ribbed collar and the ribbed bottom band. The only thing different I suggest is make sure to do the ribbing across the bottom first. If we do it across the bottom first, then when we go and do the collar, it's going to have a nice long transition down this way rather than the collar and then that edging coming this way, if you understand what I mean. So I think it's better just to start, if you're doing that alteration, that you will start it along the bottom first and then we'll finish the collar. So those directions will be in the pattern, and I don't have a video for the join as you go ribbing, but if you check out the skirt tutorial, you will see instructions on how to do that if you're not familiar. So the link for the skirt will be in the description box as well. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell to stay updated on all my new videos and tutorials. Thanks so much, guys. Have an awesome day.